I've been working on Western Sahara for now since the early 1800s, I think. I've been doing it since I was a student, both internationally in Brussels and vis-a-vis the Nordic countries, a lot vis-a-vis civil society and governments, political parties. So I feel I have some sense of what's going on also in the Nordic countries in terms of where the mood is. And there is some sort of the issue of Western Sahara falls very natural to all the political parties of all the Nordic countries to be solidaric, to feel some sort of solidarity to the Sahrawi cause. There is no real cross-political discussions. I mean, in most countries, this is very unanimous, I think. In Norway, we have the pro-Western Sahara Solidarity Committee in the parliament consisting of all the 9 political parties in parliament. And we see something similar in the other countries. It falls within the political party system, within the international law departments of the governments, it's in the civil society, it's in the media. This is quite a unison matter. And then the frustrating part is then, why is this not reflected more in a stronger position from the government? There's some sort of a mismatch between the solidarity of all levels of society on one hand and the very hesitant positions of the Nordic countries. And this is somewhat different from one country to the other. I think it's sort of disappointing sometimes to follow Danish politics, to be honest. The Swedes are miles ahead. The Swedish are so crystal clear, particularly in the European Union. The Danish express some sort of, well, it's important to follow principles of international law, we support self-determination, and we trust the Commission is doing the same. We support the European Commission's position on, but that's nonsense, because the Commission is actively working for the Moroccans. It's undermining its own courts, it's ignoring its own courts. They're lying in the parliament. The Commission is stating in the parliament that my association, that Polisario, is adhering to the illegal trade agreements. It does not make any sense. So there is some sort of trust in the EU system, from the Danish, but also partially from the Finnish, that we don't see from the Swedish. The Swedish is crystal clear that the EU is undermining international law. The trade agreements are illegal. We agree with the court cases. So we wish we had seen the Nordic EU countries follow the Swedish position. The Norwegians' Icelandic interpretation of the free trade agreement with Morocco is crystal clear. Western Sahara is not part of the trade agreements. That statement is the same in Sweden, but it's not the same in Iceland and Denmark. No, sorry, Finland and Denmark. There should be a crystal clear interpretation. There is no, why should we go through another round of the court cases? It's obvious that it's not part of the trade agreement. So there's a mismatch there on a certain level. The Norwegian government has a very clear position on corporations. We don't want, there's one country in the world, one place in the world where the Norwegian government asks its companies not to do businesses, and that's in Western Sahara. It does not say that about Palestine or North Korea or anywhere else, but it says that about Western Sahara, because of the very unique international law principles applying there. The Swedish, the Danish do not do that. The Finnish do not do that. The Dutch had something similar at one point. It's an advice, a voluntary advice. It's an advice to the companies to adhere to global, general principles of business ethics. The consequence of that position, which is a voluntary advice, it doesn't cost the government anything of Norway. That is that the Norwegian government, no, the Norwegian companies, they basically follow that position. You see it through the Ship Owners Association, you see it through the Trade Union Congress, it trickles down to the media who uncover that this company is acting against the advice of the government. The banking sector is very much listening to the Norwegian government's position. But in Denmark, the Danish enterprises are massively involved in the occupied territories through renewable energy, shipping, fishing, consultancy firms. So the Danish companies acting as if, the Danish government would say, we expect the Danish companies to adhere to or follow international law. But what kind of advice is that? Even the Moroccans are saying they follow international law, or the Americans. You know, the Americans are not doing that, or the Commission. So it is a nonsensical advice. So we wish we had seen clear advice. We don't want our businesses in Western Sahara, because the only way you could deal with business there is to be supporting the occupation. So we wish to see more clarity. Now, sorry I've been speaking a long time. The Danish government had hesitations when they voted for the Commission positions on the court cases regarding the EU-Moroccan trade agreements. It stated, we expect the Commission to adhere to international law, something along those lines. But still voting for appealing, voting for the continued court cases, instead of saying like the Swedish, we don't want any more court cases, the issue is clear. So the Danes kept supporting those illegal agreements for even more unnecessary years. Now, the last, hopefully last ruling, the 8th ruling, will take place maybe in June. What we would hope is that Denmark would be as clear as Sweden, and Finland would be as clear as Sweden, saying to the Commission, okay, we're going to lose again for the 8th time. It should be unacceptable that the Commission, on the day of the ruling, comes with some sort of statement saying, you know, coming with some sort of statement of, we'll find a way to deal with this and continue our good relations in Western Sahara. I mean, we should not circumvent it again. And we need to put pressure on the Commission already now. There's nothing to wait for. And that should come from the Nordic countries together, and not letting Sweden stand alone in that fight with the Commission. So my appeal to civil society, to the politicians, to address this with the Ministry and with the European Commission. We need a clear statement from the Commissioner the day of the ruling. No more court cases. It's counterproductive. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Erik Hagen.